Well, Pixar is back at it again. They've re-released Turning Red, and it's having theater owners turning red themselves because turning green seems to be very hard, if you know what I mean, at the registers. Nobody is going to watch Turning Red. It's the same as nobody went to go watch Soul. Now it has many folks out there, analysts even, pondering, is anybody going to go see any more Disney animated films? Is Inside Out 2 in danger, and do they feel real anxiety? Hello folks, happy day to each and every one of you out there. We're happy to have you here on the Pro Channel. We're also happy to have Mr. LW Ghost rejoining us. Sir, welcome back to the channel.
Thank you, always happy to be here.
Well, one thing that is not making folks out there very happy would be those theater owners. They're not very happy to have Turning Red, although there's some fascinating stuff going on here. Folks, we're not gonna bury the lead on this. We're just gonna tell you, on its opening night, Turning Red turned $160,000 in gross box office sales, $160,000, and that means that Turning Red, the previously unreleased into theaters film from Disney Plus by Pixar, it is very unlikely to make $1 million at the box office. Very, very unlikely. Let's talk about that and why that's such a big deal. This is out of Laughing Place by Mike Celestino. Pixar's Turning Red returns to Hollywood's El Capitan Theater with a reopening night fan event. And this is, it seems to me, part of an effort that Disney had to increase the box office over Soul, which was very embarrassing. Now, they're still in embarrassing territory, but they did improve over Soul. The numbers here are so low, though, folks, that you really can't take any. Like, there's no joy in Mudville right now. Back in the spring of 2022, Pixar Animation Studios acclaimed an Oscar-nominated feature, Turning Red, played briefly at the Disney-operated El Capitan Theater in Hollywood despite not getting a national run in the movie theaters otherwise. And that was because of the pandemic. Well, ostensibly. It's really because, probably, this film had some stuff in it that made them nervous to release. But starting today, Turning Red has finally opened in theaters nationwide, and with that revival comes a return to El Capitan Theater, complete with a reopening night fan event to kick off this second run at the famous Hollywood Movie House. Now remember, this never came out in theaters. This was Disney Plus only, and this is also part of a major promotion where Disney is trying to get you to go watch all three of these re-releases, and I'm sure they thought they were going to get like $5 million apiece. That didn't happen, but they were going to try to get you to go watch all three so you could get a free ticket to Inside Out 2, and then boost that through a Fandango promotion. Now, how did this go, though? Well, if we go to the numbers here, we've got the daily domestic chart for Friday. Saturday's not yet out at the time of release of this video, but will be shortly. We can see that Argyle is in number 1, Lisa Frankenstein in number 2, The Beekeeper in 3, Anyone But You in 4, The Chosen season 4, just an episode, lands in the next spot. Wonka is after that. And what do we see? Well, Turning Red did not even make the top 10, and this in spite of the fact that there are basically no family movies releasing. Turning Red still unable to break into 10. There's also something else that's fascinating here, Lou, and that is that Turning Red did increase the amount that it made in its first night over Soul. Somehow, Disney managed to get the theater owners to open this in more theater screens. And so then the question becomes, is Disney paying the theater owners to have those additional screens? Because this might actually drop this down below the per screen average, and Soul's was absolutely horrific. Ghost, what do you make of all of this? Is this actually heading towards a very bad situation for Disney and Inside Out 2 over the summer?
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, for those who really don't understand, because a lot of people don't, the El Capitan is an experience no matter what movie is playing there. The El Capitan is a must-take kids for their birthday parties kind of place. It's a theater that Disney put millions of dollars into totally renovating to its grand style. It's got a pre-show where the curtains open and things happen, and James Horner wrote the original score for it, although that, of course, like everything else with Disney, has been changed to the worse. So having it there to goose it doesn't say anything about its appeal. It says it's an appeal as in, let's take the kids out and have an event no matter what the movie is. And that leads you to the question, if this is basically the same people who went to see Soul, which weren't many, and the same people are going to go see Luca, because that 3 tickets to get 1 for Inside Out 2 deal is still out there. Soul died. We all know it died. But they have to keep it at least in a few theaters to get somebody to buy that thing, because when I went to Fandango and checked out, remember, this was you had to buy a ticket for each Soul, Turning Red, and Luca. And Luca comes out March 22nd. You had to buy all of those before April 30th in order to get a one free ticket for Inside Out 2. It makes you wonder, however many this totals out to, if that's going to be the vast majority of people who show up for Inside Out 2.
It's a great question. And there are going to be detractors out there who take the opposite opinion. They're going to say, well, these are re-releases. You guys don't know what you're talking about. We're in a situation right now where once Disney releases its real film, Inside Out 2, that's going to be the return to Disney's true form, a good sequel that'll draw audiences out. And frankly, that is the proposition that Bob Iger is making to investors. And right now, that is working. The promise of tomorrow, it's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, that is swaying investors at the moment, where we could get some real, we could see some people abandoning ship as if Inside Out 2 comes out and it does poorly, such as these films. Now, it's not going to do this poorly. This is impossibly poor.
They're so desperate to say it's going to do great. I found several, I sent you one, but I found several what we might call Pixie Dust sites from November. Inside Out already broke a Disney movie record. Inside Out 2, again, shatters Frozen 2's record as Disney's biggest animated trailer launch.
Exactly.
In other words, it's the biggest thing ever. It's going to do great. Why? Because people watched the trailer to see if it was any good. And by the way, I will note.
Well, these are often also, Lou, measured in ways that you and I would not measure them. I haven't went in depth in this article, but I will tell you that there's some companies out there that they measure online response, and they have some funny numbers and some funny ways of figuring out how popular something's going to be that I would not come up with on my own. I'll tell you that.
But here's the comparison to Frozen that they're trying to make. Frozen came out, remember, is not a sequel, is an original movie, and people were excited and curious. This is a sequel, which theoretically a lot of the audience that went to the first one understands and knows all about. And people are tuning in. How many of those people went to see that trailer in that is it safe mode rather than in that, I'm excited mode?
Well, agreed on that, but I'll tell you this too. So Frozen, the reason that it exploded was its soundtrack. So the soundtrack just lifted that movie to the,
personally,
Inside Out 2 doesn't have any soundtrack. It's going to have to live or die based on its narrative. I don't expect Anxiety to have a musical number. I hope Anxiety doesn't have a musical number.
Well, High Anxiety, Mel Brooks already did that, and and then that same movie web, I found another link to one from September, How Inside Out 2 Can Survive the New Pixar Curse Explained.
Ooh, well, at least they've identified that there is a curse over Pixar, and folks, we'll be covering this in the coming week. But Disney Animation Studios also not inoculated to this. They had some bad news brought down on them on Friday, and we'll be talking about that. Film Threat has been covering that as well.
Well, yeah. Remember the Spanish and the Chinese flus? We might call this the Canadian crud.
That's right. Well, get to Vancouver, folks, and get your booties on because it's cold outside. Now, I want to go to Cartoon Brew. Okay. This is by Jamie Lang, and it says audiences reject recycled releases as Soul and Spider-Verse post dismal weekend box office numbers. This was back a couple weeks ago, January 22nd. But there's a false equivalency here, and I'm not critiquing Jamie Lang. Okay, so I don't want anybody to think that I'm being overly critical. So we don't want to be overly critical of Jamie Lang or anything like that, folks. But we want to go with a level of analysis that you expect here on this channel, which is to go a little deeper. And as we go deeper, what I would submit to all of you out there, and as well you, Lou, is that when it comes to Into the Spider-Verse, when you have invested your disposable income in the last 18 months into that film, and some people went and saw it multiple times, then you're unlikely to want to commit more of that disposable revenue, especially under the current economic times, when it's available for free on streaming. Soul is a categorically different situation because it has never been widely available in theaters. You've never spent money on going to see it. It largely was just free on Disney Plus, and Disney Plus for many people out there is also free. So you're getting it through Charter Spectrum now. You're getting it. Many folks out there have had it through Verizon and other partnership deals where they've never spent a dime on Disney Plus, at least not directly. So these are different. But I do want to say that it seems to me that we're in a very difficult situation at the box office, and I want your take on this, Lou. Box office winter grosses hit alarming lows. You sent this my way. It's by Pamela McClintock and came out just 2 days ago. Concerns that domestic revenue would decline as major studio titles were delayed to 2025 were not unfounded. So there's a two-pronged issue at the box office. And we've talked before, folks. We kind of paused on it. We haven't been talking about it as much, about the danger that theaters could literally close this year in mass. There's a two-pronged issue, and the issue is this. One, there is a dearth of content. So the content cadence for box offices, very low, very, very low. Perhaps worse than the pandemic, and that's due to the strikes in the last year. The second issue is that the content that is available so far is not enticing audiences to come out. Argyle did not have the kind of effect one would hope for if you wanted to get people to come back in and see movies. So, Lou, what are theaters to do in this kind of a scenario?
Well, it's a double-edged sword for theaters, especially small ones or ones in small towns where they're the only game in town. I have some friends who live up on Vancouver Island who told me they were shocked when they drove downtown the other day to find out that their one and only one-screen charming neighborhood theater has given up the ghost. And I think that's going to start happening because when we talk about a dearth of content, look, if you put one up and it's a stinker and you thought it was going to run for 3 weeks and it's not going to run for one, when there's more content, you say, okay, we take that out and we put this one in. But what if there's nothing else to replace it with?
Well, that's how you get an increase.
That's a whole different ball of wax. And
that's how you get an increase, Lou, in the number of theaters showing Turning Red, even after they were just decimated by a soul. Yeah, because there's nothing else to show.
Exactly. And you know, to some degree, that's partially not just her demand and her appeal. That's why there were so many screens available for Taylor Swift, because there weren't movies on them.
Well, that's a good point as well. Yes, how would Taylor Swift do now? We're not taking anything from Taylor Swift.
No.
Especially not on this day when she may be engaged. Who knows, right? Whatever it takes to drive the ratings. But yeah, it is a curious question. And it also, I think, is curious, too. Like, what other movies could you put on that would beat these Pixar films currently? Okay, so let's say that you've got Turning Red and Soul, and they're under $100 per screen, which is just, I mean, that means nobody went and saw that for the entire day.
Yeah.
So let's play this out. If I put a film like Garbage Pail Kids, which I think is one of the worst movies ever made, if you were to put that out, would that beat $100 per screen? You know, that's the kind of question you got to start asking yourself.
No, wait. The question
could you trick a vagrant to come in and drop a $5 bill to go see Garbage Pail Kids?
No, wait. Never mind Garbage Pail Kids. Could you put a special release of Bambi or Dumbo or any of the Disney classics and do better? I bet you could.
Clearly,
you could do
that. Yes.
I mean, that's within their power to do. But again, they're tied into this buy three, get one. And it makes me wonder. We have seen statistical gamesmanship played by Disney where, for example, we have 7,000 jobs. Yeah, but did it really cut the money? We have X number of subscribers, but how much what we call ARPU, revenue per user? Well, what if when the numbers come out for Inside Out 2, they tell us how many bodies went as opposed to how many didn't pay and how many did because they'd already bought it for free by buying these other movies.
Exactly. And often we can get the numbers on how many people went to go see a movie, but we cannot get it in the news cycle.
Well, and they can play it both ways. If it opens weak, they can say, yeah, but we had all these other people.
Yes. But listen to that closely, folks, because it's a really important point. I don't know that it is done on accident that we get the ticket sale numbers very rapidly, but inflation has had a major impact on that. The audience numbers, that takes longer for us to get, and so then it kind of evades the news cycle. So I mean, we can come back a week later and say, well, here's how many bodies went to go see it. A lot of people are already in for the next topic.
Whereas with these losers like Soul and this one, when we see how many screens and we take the per screen average of revenue, we can kind of guess.
Exactly. Now let's read this second paragraph because this is very, very big. And we're looking for where this could turn around. But domestic box office revenue year to date of $581.2 million is running 43% behind the average haul during the same time period in 2016 to 19. when movie ticket sales clocked in as high as 1.08 billion, according to data provided by ComScore for January 1st through February 4th. This is actually worse because movie ticket prices have, folks, you know how much food costs now versus what it did in, let's say, 2016? Well, movie ticket prices have escaped that. They have overinflated even beyond historical inflation. And so movie ticket prices are way, way more expensive. I don't have the numbers directly in front of me right now.
And it's only February.
Yes.
When they say
so
year
where's
to
the
date.
turnaround, Lou? Well, I mean, what is there out there that could change this? Exactly. It's going to be a very hard year for theater owners.
And
You'll
by
get a
the
few
way,
exceptions. You get Despicable Me, but that's about it. Go ahead, Lou.
Let us remind people, if you haven't heard it from us recently as we've discussed it, there's another strike coming. Without a doubt. There is another strike coming starting August 1st, and Hollywood may shut down again.
If it does, it will destroy the industry.
And what it will do is that these things that have been starting to ramp up since the writers and actors came back will be ready to go or just started when they say, "Well, wait, hold the phone. We can't make it anymore after all."
Lou, can you explain the strike? This new potential strike.
Folks,
explain it real quick.
There are basically three groups of contracts in Hollywood. There's the Directors Guild, which happens in 1 year. The next year, the actors and the writers happen. And the next year, what's called the IATSE, which is the everybody else group of guilds, which is grips, electricians, makeup people, hair people, and they are also affiliated with the Teamsters, with the drivers. It's everybody else on the set. And
they're feeling left out, right, Lou?
Well, here's the other thing. The Directors Guild has what's called a Most Favored Nations contract with the writers and the actors, which means if the directors make a good deal they like, but the following year the writers and the actors get something a little better, it automatically gets incorporated into the Directors Guild contract. IA hasn't got that with anybody. And so they are on their own because the analogies are harder with the IA people. But here's the thing. The SAG has approximately 175,000 members, but it has been estimated at certain points in the past that 2,500 of them earn 80% or more of the total income. In other words, a few people working, a lot of people members. There are 165,000 members of IA, and they're working. These are people who are working all the time when things are happening. And these are people who just came off not working because of the other strikes. So they're hurting financially, but somehow they kind of saw the writing on the wall and said, hey, we better prepare because ours is coming up next time. And here's what they've done and why we think there will be a strike. The way these negotiations work, you go into what they call early negotiations. In other words, the contract expires August 1st, which means July 31st is the last day to make a deal. But you don't start negotiating July 20th or July 10th or July anything. You go into like May and start talking. Because the worst thing that can happen to a movie is to stop in the middle. Because some people, stars and people, are getting paid anyway. It's what created, not to put too fine a point on it, it's why there's a thing called Century City in Los Angeles, if you've ever been there, of all these offices and hotels and shopping centers that all used to be the backlot of 20th Century Fox. Then they had to shut down Cleopatra in the middle and keep paying Liz and Dick and everybody. It broke the whole place. Well, normally going into advanced negotiations like that, there is an agreement that, hey, we only have 50 things we'd like to get, but we're going to concentrate on these 5 or these 10, and if we can get those, we'll forego the others for another time. Instead, this time, the IA put out a formal statement saying, first of all, if we're still negotiating when the contract runs out, we will not gratis extend it a few days or weeks or months so we can make a deal. It's over. We have no interest in extending the current contract, quote unquote. Well, how is that for a gun to the head as far as the when you go into the negotiations knowing you better make a deal or there's no deal at all, and there's no more time and there's no more extension, that shows you're pretty far apart and they're pretty damn serious about it. So if
boys and girls, that's why you come to this channel. Lou, you have educated all of us.
If the studios think Well, they're all broke from the other strike. They'll roll over. Guess again. Guess again.
So let me ask you this then, and we'll wind up here. My question for you, Lou, is we've seen a bump in the Disney stock, which is what we predicted here on this channel, and we've been consistently predicting that as part of the proxy battle.
Yeah.
There's two sides at Disney, and one side, of course, Nelson Peltz, Elon Musk, Ike Perlmutter. We assume Elon Musk is now part of this. There's that side, and that side, of course, needs to buy up stocks to gain more power. And on the other side, you've got the Disney side, the legacy side, that wants to keep Musk and the folks out of there. And so their job is to do whatever it takes in the short term to make things look good and get investors excited and happy, even if it has a long-term effect that's negative. And so that's what we've seen. But my curiosity is, and no financial advice here, folks, but Lou, how long do you think this is going to play out that Disney can continue to point to the horizon and say, look at this shiny thing that we're doing, look at this amazing thing that we're promising you, when we're not seeing growth, and when that lack of growth is such that the box office is even at the edge of collapse because Disney is unable to negotiate with the unions. Of course, Disney's one of the biggest players out there. They should be taking the lead on this. Nobody's really criticized Iger on this. At the same time, you've got these animated flicks that are coming out in theaters, and Disney is just bombing with them. I mean, we could run through the list. It's now, we're getting into a top 10 kind of thing. How long can Disney make that, this kind of very poor growth, or even acquiescing to other studios to come in and take their gains, and investors still just say, oh, but the future is bright?
Well, first of all, on a practical level, all the stock buying that'll affect the Peltz thing is done, because you had to be a stockholder as of the day of the call this week in order to vote those shares in that deal. But everything they presented on that call to try and, as you say, encourage people, most of it wasn't quite ink dried yet. We found out they were still really kind of negotiating the Epic deal, and they were still.
Isn't that funny, Lou, that's not at the top of these articles often? That, hey, this is not even signed yet.
And that they hadn't signed The Rock for the Moana movie, animated movie. That they didn't tell anybody, and there was a big panic meeting, as you covered, in Burbank, that, oops, we're kind of moving all the animation to Canada where there's no unions and where we get tax breaks, so good luck, bye.
Right. Get your if you want to be a part of it.
So the chickens will come home to roost pretty quick on these non-growth things. But to me, the biggest factor that will influence people, or should, is the stuff. If you go look at Peltz's Restoring the Magic website, the chart of how this company compares to the S&P, to the other people in their business, as far as how much they have grown or haven't while this board has been in charge. And therefore, even if you bought all the hype to think, well, gee, a bunch of people, some of them with tenures on the board of 6 and 7 years, can suddenly figure it out and do it right now when they've been doing it wrong for that long, and when during that time they themselves have not been buying stock. In fact, they've been selling it, and they own tiny little percentages. They have no skin in the game other than their, in case people don't know, if you're a board member with Disney, you get a $15,000 taxes paid included freebie if you want to go to any of the Disney parks or resorts anywhere in the world. They take care of the bill. That's a nice little perk, huh? But you don't have to own stock, obviously, to make that happen, because they're selling it. If you believe that those people with no skin in the game, no proven results, are going to somehow magically turn all this around, and how they're going to do it, in this instance, is by getting people to buy 3 tickets to get 1, I have some swampland in Burbank I'd like to sell you.
That's right. And folks, just for clarity's sake, we'll say it again. We've said it over and over. I do not believe, and Lou, I'm not speaking on your behalf, Lou. You may believe otherwise, and that's fine. I do not personally believe that Nelson Peltz is going to be successful this year in getting board seats. I don't think that's going to happen. And yet, I am a fan of Nelson Peltz having board seats. So I'm not trying to dissuade anyone from their vote, but I'm saying that I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think that this is kind of like a pressure cooker, and the longer this goes on, with these fundamental problems with Disney and pointing to the horizon and hoping that the legacy media will carry the water and make investors who don't pay much attention get all giddy about you, I think that this is creating a situation where next year Nelson Peltz may be in a situation to grab far more than what he has currently, because the fundamentals, when they're not there, you're on borrowed time, in my estimation. Lou, is that the way you feel?
I think he has a better chance than you think he has, but I still think there is certainly a chance it won't happen. But what the question will become is, a year from now, you know the old "see, I told you so"?
Right,
Well, wow, will that be powerful? Because let's say, for example, he doesn't get it. Will there be a little bounce to Disney's step for a day and a half? Sure there will, because see, we withstood that. People thought we were right and they were wrong.
Well, the market likes stability. They like to know what's going to happen. They don't like instability.
But as I keep saying, all of these big institutions that own most of this company, and all the brokerage, lots of individuals own stock in what they call street name, which means they don't personally have the certificate, and the broker or the mutual fund that they're in, or the pension fund that they're in that owns Disney stock, votes those shares for them, and they tend to vote for the current management. All those people are suddenly having their attention drawn to this situation. People who are just coasting along and they have real lives and real jobs and real financial concerns about their mortgage and about the inflation that you mentioned and everything else, are suddenly going to say, wait just a dang minute. Never mind the woke stuff, and never mind the political stuff and the sexual stuff and the lawsuit stuff and all the rest of it. They're not making me any money. And Peltz has been very smart that's the focus of his attack, that is what he has completely focused on, and not gotten into those political, sexual, social issues at all. He's just saying, how'd you come out? How'd you come out?
And folks, tomorrow morning we're going to be discussing the Disney dividend. We've got some info there that you definitely want to hear. So Monday morning, going to be the Disney dividend. So as you're coming back from your Super Bowl hangover, and no, it may not be alcohol. It may be those Tostitos. Too many of those, or the wings. Once you pass a dozen wings, you're in for poultry hangover mode. But folks, when you're suffering through that, you can enjoy the channel tomorrow. We'll be talking about the Disney dividend.
Well, you might say that the dividends they've offered are a paltry sum.
Well played, sir. Well played.
So, that's like a Mexican Iron Man who's talking about, oh boy, I get to buy one taco with my dividend.
I don't know if it'll buy a taco. Maybe.
Not any place you'd want to eat one. Let's put it that way.
Right. And then Lou, you're going to be back. We're going to be talking about Gina Carano tomorrow afternoon. So, folks, we've got all kinds of content coming up, as well as, if you're a member of the channel, you gain access to the Genre Guys, which is
we just did one last night,
videos.
And we did a great one last night on Where Eagles Dare, one of the greatest. I didn't know this. Do you know that is Steven Spielberg's favorite war movie?
No, I did not know that.
Yes. We learned all kinds of interesting things about that wonderful film. So, and more to come. Well, I will be tuning in. And folks, we've got the 60K celebration coming up. 60,000 of you have decided to subscribe to this channel in just 13 months. It is an honor. And so we're going to celebrate all of you being the gigawatts that power what we are attempting to do, which is explain entertainment and keep you ahead of the culture curve. Folks, it's your turn now. Like, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms, hits the notification bell. Drop a comment down below, let us know your thoughts. And as we always say, as we leave out of here, and we mean it, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
No, hey Flo, what you doing? Thinking about Rome?
No, I wasn't. But thanks. Now I lost the game.
Dang it. Now I lost the game. No. Well, now you're a double loser.
Hey guys, you know what would help you in your grief? Forgetting those things and filling your mind with articles from thatparkplace.com and using that website as a launching pad to get you lost in thought with all of the team from there.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, well, Flora, would you look down here?
I hate you.